Good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning. I know that we are missing some because camp left. How many of you lost kids? All right. All right, I don't want to stop the fellowship. That's the best part. I love fellowship. I love talking, but I have like 45 minutes, and I never get through my material. And every single week I want to say, oh, I'm going to get to this point. It's not going to be a problem. And we never get through and all of it. So I want to, you guys have your books? Are y'all doing your reading? Yes or no? Be honest. Yes? Good. A little. I know your husband is, so I chastised him this morning. Are we getting married soon?
The kids are at camp and they don't have class.
Oh, you might learn something. Have a seat. Don't listen to your mother.
That's what he has to learn. Don't listen.
No, like, she may say some things that you're like, what? All right. Where was I? Oh, yeah. Everyone doing their homework? For those of you who are not with us usually, good morning. We're looking through the love and respect book. We're looking at marriage and we're talking about some of these things. You could be able to jump in today. It's not going to be not that hard to jump in. But are you doing your homework is the key thing, reading and doing your homework. How are those conversations going? I'm really curious. How are your conversations going? Is it awkward? No? Ladies, have you used that term, I want you to know that I respect you, and you started talking about how you respect your husband? Have you done that?
I have, but more with a thesaurus, not...
With a fourth?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, not those exact words, because then he would go, oh, you've been reading the book, huh?
It's okay. That's a good thing. Anybody else? It's interesting. So I've had actually several people say to me, and this is and I will agree to this. Man, 6 chapters. He really harps on that respect thing, right? If you read your book, you would kind of know that, right? You don't have a book? You want mine?
This is my first day.
Welcome. Good morning. But he kind of feels like he goes back. And remember, this is a new concept that when you go to a lot of different marriage seminars and such, that this is not the topic that they look at. So that, so when he came up with this and he and his wife started doing marriage seminars, somebody's probably said to them, man, that is such a good material. You need to write a book. He wrote a book, right? And so he's really looking at that. I wish he spent a little more time on the guy's side as well. But we are going to, in our class, we can bring both sides into it. But it's what's interesting to me is that we will probably read this material, agree with the material, but then we won't do the material. Right? Yeah. Right, give me the pill instead, right? I like that. That's a really good analogy. Like weight loss, we understand what we need to do. We read all the books, we have the material, we read the articles, but we don't follow through with it. I want you to have those conversations. Somebody came to me actually this past week and they said they were talking to their wife and they were, I don't know if you call it an argument, but they were discussing some things and he said, hey, I need you to know that because of how you're talking to me and the words that you are saying to me, I'm feeling very disrespected through this conversation. And I want to understand both sides. I want to put on my pink glasses. I want to put on my pink hearing aids, try to figure this out, but what I'm feeling is this. And you know what he told me? He goes, I didn't feel like a man. Because a man's supposed to take it. A man's supposed to stay quiet. And our first reaction, at least for me, is to stonewall. I'll get very quiet, I'll shut down and go, whatever, man. And so for him to come out and say, hey, I'm feeling disrespected, and if you read your book, you'd come back and go, have I treated you unloving? What's going on? And she goes, man, you're right. I am doing that. I apologize for that. This is what I'm trying to say. This is what I'm trying to communicate here. And their conversation de-escalated like that, got through that entire conversation without a fight, and everything was a lot better. So actually putting some of these things into practice, it really does help. For me, it is uncomfortable, and because I don't talk like that. I try to show that I love my wife, but I don't always express the way that she needs it, or even express it in words, because I'm that typical guy. All right, before we get into our new material, and there's 3 chapters that we're covering in today, and so we're going to have to go quite quickly. But I told you last week I really wanted to say something about that last phrase, and when we are really good at looking at our spouse and what they're doing wrong instead of looking at what we're doing wrong. Do you agree, disagree with that? Where are you at on that? That came from the material from last week. This is a discussion class, so let's just jump in and then discuss.
Well, I think we do that with everybody else anyway, because, he talks about, the take the plank out of your eye, put somebody else in the speck. So we do that with everybody else anyway, but in our marriage, it just seems to be at a heightened level.
Probably because we're with each other for a lot of time, right? You don't escape. You kind of live in the same house. Is that part of that reasoning? Getting to know each other?
Well, and it's always easy to hurt the ones that you love because you just think you don't forgive.
Solid point.
With just a casual acquaintance, if they do something occasionally that gets on your nerves, it's just occasionally.
Blow it off.
You only see them once or twice a month. But with your spouse, you see them every day, and when they start doing things that gets on your nerve, it's every day.
Right. Yeah, it is. And it can build, right? And if we don't take care of those things, we get to a point where it just blows up. This is the craziest thing. When I was talking to somebody, they came to me and they said, we're getting divorced. And I'm like, hey, tell me the number one thing, man, that's just killing you. She puts the toilet roll upside down when she installs it in the bathroom. That's why you're getting a divorce? Going back to your point, it was those little things, and the toilet roll is a dumb example, but it is those little things that can build up and just explode at the end, and what do we do now? And so that's really good.
I think it's never the little, ever.
What's that?
I think it's never, ever the little. I think that there's always an underlying
Oh, yeah.
something, and the little things are just what eats away at it.
Yeah,
And it builds up and
Yeah.
up and up.
absolutely.
But I don't think the little things have anything to do with it.
No, I agree. It's the dumb little things, but when you get in talking to them, you find out there's a whole lot of other stuff going on, and it was that thing was just a straw that broke the back. Yeah, we're really good at looking at others before we look at ourselves. Now, we came into session 4, and I really want to talk about this, that cycle, and we know the cycle, right? Tell me the cycle. I'm going to start with he. What? What's this? Okay. He doesn't feel respect. R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Then what happens, Sheldon?
Reacts unlovingly.
Reacts unloving. What happens? Not you. You're out. What happens next, guys? What's the cycle?
Doesn't feel love.
She doesn't feel love. She no love. She no feel love. Sorry. And then what happens?
She doesn't show respect.
No. So I had to sing the song every time. So sometimes I'm in the middle of the verse, so I had to get to the word. She does not, so she gives no respect to him. He doesn't feel respect, and here we go. Here's our crazy cycle that we're talking about. In these next several chapters, what he was really talking about as well, when we look at her, and say, okay, I'm going to give, and you really focused on, do you remember these words? What is it? Did I spell it right, Bess? Unconditional respect. Sorry. She doesn't sing it fast. She spaces that out. Unconditional respect. But when we're talking, and we're going to get to unconditional love as well for the guys in just a second. But this unconditional respect, and we're supposed to give this unconditional respect no matter what. But he came up with a term in the very beginning of this, and he says, I don't want her to feel like she's a doormat. Explain this to me, especially from his point of view, but explain how you may feel like you're just a doormat if you try to do this unconditional respect. Again, it's a discussion class. Go on, ladies. We're okay. It's just on film.
You feel like you're putting up with a lot.
Okay, I just got to keep putting up with it. Keep putting up. Even if he doesn't show me any kind of love, I'm just going to have to keep showing that respect. That's hard, isn't it? Extremely hard. Keep going.
Taking it out on you for every day,
Yeah,
and saying mean stuff,
sure.
mental emotional abuse.
Right. Keep going, ladies. How can this feel like you're a doormat?
Unconditional respect. Talk like a lady.
Oh, I was like,
Unconditional respect can easily be abused by an abusive person.
absolutely. Absolutely. Is he saying that you need to be a doormat?
You could do it for years and years and you don't even read.
Right. Right. Does he want you to be a doormat? Monty, go. Why? Okay.
I think definition of doormat, that's the thing, I think that's where we get hung up, what are you talking about a doormat, I mean, like, I think that you need cleaning all the time and you.
Okay.
Respect that, I mean, what?
Let's make sure. Okay, you're good. So let's make sure. How does he define it in the book? How did he describe it in the book? Oh, I caught you now, didn't I? Oh, we didn't read. Read fast.
I didn't read the book, but I think doormat means that you're not equal in the relationship because you're lower, you're on the floor, you're down.
Okay.
That's kind of how I'm seeing it, as you're unequal.
Okay. So when he was talking about, he's not saying, I want you to be a doormat. Okay? He's not saying, this is a really difficult thing to understand. And again, we're going to get to the guy's side in just a second. But if he's not acting in a loving manner towards you, our first reaction is what? I'm not going to give you that respect, or I'm not going to act loving towards you. I'm going to react in a negative way, which fuels this in a negative way, which is called our cycle. And what he's saying here, it's very difficult. He says this unconditional respect, no matter what, I'm going to show this kind of respect to my husband. And remember, it's not a... And so, okay, I've got to stay on track here. The doormat doesn't mean I just keep taking it and taking it and taking it and taking it. And no matter what he does, he's allowed to do anything he wants, and I'm just going to take it. And that is not what he's talking about in this at all. Right? Actually, if when you read this and you read these chapters, tell me what those letters sounded like when there's an adjustment made.
Both sides adjusted.
Both sides adjusted. What else happened? You're right. What else happened?
I think one of my favorite quotes from the chapter was, he said, when you touch your spouse's deepest need, something good almost always happens.
Yeah.
So it's almost like the opposite of what you think is going to happen, but it's like something like whenever you do that, I can't say it better than he did, something good happens.
Yeah.
Because it's the way it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. Really, something good happens. Can something negative happen? Yes, but when we understand the deepest need. Who came up with the love and respect thing? It's not the guy who wrote the book. Who came up with it? God did. Who created us?
God,
So do you think God knows us?
yes.
I want to make sure we are all on the same page.
He knows us way before we know what's new to us.
All right, I'm going to put you in timeout. You ever been in timeout in my class? So who makes the first move? What?
The guy in the book.
The guy in the book, yeah. Well, he talks about that really quick, right? He talks about this in the very next part of the book, and this is kind of going on with what you're trying to say here is if we start touching the deepest need of our spouse, okay, whether it is unconditional respect or unconditional love, the question is, who makes the first move?
Well, it says in the book, the most mature person.
You.
I say the person that decides.
Okay, I like it. It should. It really should. Ideally, I agree. It should be two people saying, hey, we need to work on this, coming together, figuring it out. But that reality kind of strikes in this moment.
Isn't the man supposed to be the head of the household and take care of his wife?
True. So the man is supposed to be that spiritual head of that household. He should be making that first move, but it's not always us.
You know, he said it, didn't he say in the book that whoever thinks they're the most mature, which is kind of weird. He said God told him that, which through his, I don't know if that's what through his study, through whatever, whichever person feels like they're the most mature, which seems a little weird way to look. I understand that, but
It is a weird way of saying it for sure. But yeah, whoever sees it, do it. Can I say it just like that? And if you're seeing it, you want to call it that the little bit more mature person going on in the marriage right now, so be it. But whoever sees it, do it. Is it hard? The answer to that is absolutely yes, because my first reaction is, I'll do it when you do it. I'll do it when I get what I want. I'll do it when I feel I'm getting what I need. Then I will then come forward and I'll be a part of this. And I'll try to slow this crazy cycle.
It's all a good example of this, and I can't think of the name of the movie. That movie we just watched this week. Unsung Hero. Have y'all seen that? It's really good. It's about, I don't know, it's about a family, and I think the wife does have unconditional respect. It's a Christian movie. It's really good, and I kept thinking, wait a minute, more understanding than I am.
Yeah.
But she just kept, it's kind of a family. Their kids are famous Christian singers anyway. But the movie's really about the dad and the mom, really about the family and the dad. And not that he wasn't abusive, it was none of that, but she made decisions for their family that
Okay.
freaked me out, and she just kept, because she was seeking to do what God's will was.
Right.
She was being loving unconditionally.
Right.
Unconditional respect.
Right.
Even when she wasn't really sure, but she was relying on God, not on us.
Absolutely. Good. No, I love it. I love it. Sally, put it on the movie list. We'll watch it. So why is this so hard to make the first move? Why is it so hard? Number one, you first. What's another reason that might be so hard for us to take that first move?
Because if you keep.
You're in timeout. Go ahead, really fast. What do you got?
Keep doing it over and over.
Yeah?
You're gonna get hung out to dry. That's what you're worried about.
you may not get the response that you want.
Would that go with this? Out to dry? Not response? Okay?
There may be some trust issues there.
So trust.
That's a big one, because, you're putting yourself out there, and they've broken your it's not even like the big trust issues. It can be the small things.
Sure.
The crazy cycle often devolves into keeping score. And so if you move first, you've lost.
Very man of you, of that example. Thank you.
Along those lines, if you're keeping score and you feel like you're up on the score, then that person doesn't deserve.
So if you're winning,
Yes.
if the score in your mind, if you're winning, well, I'm not giving this up because I'm winning.
Yeah.
Okay? This is good stuff, really good stuff. Keep going. Anybody else?
Pride and stubbornness.
Pride? Amen.
Yes.
I've seen that in the Bible once or twice.
Totally different.
I'm going to say stubborn. I feel like there should be a really simple end of that. Anything else?
It kind of fake it till you make it. Like when you start, it's like, this isn't even genuine.
Yes.
You've got to start somewhere.
He talked about it in the book, didn't he? He did.
CPS this week.
We had to love children. Yes. Yes, I understand. Absolutely. But he talks about that. Like, even when you don't absolutely feel that emotion of saying, I'm going to do this because I do, it's one of those moments of saying, can I get through this? Can I do the actions? There was that one letter, what was it? That's at the end of the class. I'm going to bring that up at the end. But this is I really wanted to hit this because this is extremely difficult for us to do. Who is going to make the first move to say, no matter what, I'm dedicated to my marriage? There's a lot of letters like that, right? Throughout those 3 chapters, of saying one or the other. It was the man or the woman that says, I'm dedicated no matter what, and I'm going to see it through. Do you remember? Okay, I'll bring it up. One of the last letters, and I guess it's in chapter 7, and it's the guy threw a plate at his wife. You remember that? Okay, cut her. You didn't read it. Okay, so yeah, so he's in an argument. He throws a plate at his wife, cuts her on his face. The police come up. He is in jail for the whole weekend, and I guess that's when you reevaluate things, right? He comes out and he's like, I'm absolutely 100% wrong on this. And he rededicated to his marriage. That couple is doing well. They're actually in their congregation, wherever they worship. They're the ones that lead marriage. Is this the right one, Monty? Am I on the wrong?
Oh, no, I'm not. I'm just.
Oh, sorry. I thought I get stories mixed up a lot up here, and so, but I think they're the ones that are now leading marriage discussions and how do you take care of abuse within the home. And you're sitting there going, wow. And it was really interesting when when they were emailing him, both of them separately. She never brought up the experience in her emails ever. They're like, hey, we saw your material. This is what we're doing. We want to find out what's going on here. It was him who said, this is what I did wrong. But do you see how well that marriage came back together? She goes, that's in the past. We're looking to the future. And she never brought it up. And she had every right to bring it up in that email. Right? But she doesn't. And so it's incredible. But this first move is so difficult. We have to drop our pride or our barriers and these walls and saying, I'm going to be dedicated to this no matter what. Okay? Coming back to this, and this doormat thing can be both sides. I don't see this being on just the girl side at all. I think I can pour my love into my wife and she can fully disrespect me and I feel like I'm a doormat too, right? So this is both sides. But what he talks about there, it's not feeling like that doormat. Their response is not going to be immediate. Might take days, it might take weeks, it might take months, whatever it is, but you got to be dedicated to it. And it's not being a doormat, it actually is bringing a power into that marriage, okay? You guys remember talking about seeing that as well. What I love number 4, if you're in your workbooks, this one kind of doesn't help me in my marriage. Remember when he talked about there are times when we're trying to fix things. Is it ED? Mothered? Is that right? I get mothered Do you understand what that means? Guys, explain being mothered by your wife. Maybe I'm the only one, so let me go ahead and explain it.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Because we're all having lunch soon. We want a good lunch. Yeah?
When you get treated like a child instead of like a partner.
Yeah, I always laugh at it, but my people say, Sally, how many kids do you have? She goes, I have 2 and 1 big one. Right? She goes, I have 3 kids that I'm raising. You ever said those? You guys, everyone, all the you ladies in here are laughing like, I totally did that, yes. Right? Like you feel, I'm trying to raise you. Why would this bother men? Why would this bother, huh?
It emasculates them.
Okay. Anybody else?
We left our mother for a reason. We did. We left our mother because we wanted to have a spouse and be devoted to her. And we don't want that kind of relationship anymore. We've outgrown it.
Right. Right. Sometimes this works though, right, ladies? Because that's how you get it, some things finished and done. That's what he talks about in the book. We kind of revert to this mothering kind of thing because you finally get your husband to do what you want him to do. So I need to train you to do what I need you to do. Am I hurting your feelings? Are you upset? And so what happens in this is you're right. Like, hey, I want this to be a reciprocal relationship.
Roles that are comfortable. I mean, that it's not that the woman's mothering, but a lot of times the man opens in the role of being mother too. I mean, I'm not saying either way it's wrong on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of like that's what you grew up seeing. You may have even seen that in your parents' marriage.
Yep. Yep.
It's easy to fall into that.
Yep.
Our culture doesn't help either. Like, we don't watch much TV, but I'm thinking about just shows I've seen growing up. And the dad is portrayed as the stupid dumb one.
Yeah.
And even in commercials and I think of, like Everybody Loves Raymond or things like that, he's portrayed as he's dumb and the wife has to do everything.
Is that why you like that show so much?
Leave it there on that one.
I bring this up because this is what makes things difficult. It's not just mothering one or the other, but it's really one of those things that I want you to see that there's some things that we do that we don't realize that we're doing, and that's why I bring this up. Sometimes we don't realize what we're doing to our spouse, and we need to wake up and go, okay, hold on, am I doing something that is bothering them? If you have your books, number 6, it says this, and husbands, remember the only idea, love. This is page 80 through 82 in your book. Emerson admits that there have been plenty of times when he felt like the husband who wrote and said, I have spent the last 20 years literally consumed with trying to figure out what is going on in my marriage. What has helped Emerson during those times? What are the 2 questions the husband must focus on when his wife gets critical or negative? So what are the 2 questions? Do you remember? It's okay, I wrote them down. So, is my wife coming across disrespectfully, okay? Is my wife disrespectful? Because, finish it. Because I'm being unloving. So that when I'm sensing something, when I'm saying, hey, I feel like I'm being disrespected, the first thing I need to realize, and the first question I need to ask myself, do you see how it's not always about the other person? But you turn back, you look at yourself and say, all right, am I being unloving in the relationship? Am I coming across unloving? How does that help? How does that help?
Well, it helps you identify in your car and go home the crazy cycle.
Okay, it will help you to find out where are we in this? Absolutely, that's good.
It can act as a filter before you talk.
Yes, Why is filters good?
That way you don't speak emotionally, but you speak thoughtfully.
Good. So it's not, we're not going to allow emotions to control our actions and our words. It's good. I like it. Anybody else?
Will you act versus react?
Okay, I like that. The way we act versus react. Right? We want to make choices. I like that a lot.
You're looking to change what you're doing instead of changing them. When you're looking to see if did I do something, can I change what I'm doing?
Yeah.
That's better instead of just wondering what you did wrong.
I had an old T-shirt. I'll wear it once in a while. It has 180 on the front. That was what our youth group was called a long time ago. But on the back of it, and it got a lot of conversation started at Walmart for me, and it said, changing myself to change others. And people are like, wow, that's really good. So I'm not out to change you. I'm not out to hit you with everything I've got. I'm going to change me. And when I become more godly, I have the opportunity to share with you. And that's what this is kind of talking about. Hey, I'm going to need to take a step back and go and ask myself, am I coming across unloving for the reason I am feeling disrespect from her? What's the second question is this, what did I say or do next will come across as, I can't even read my own writing.
Will what I say or do next come across as loving or unloving?
That is correct. I love this. What I do next. Is it going to be loving? Okay, and you continue on. Why is this so important? Number one, we're looking at what we're doing, but the second question is what I do next. And that word right there is so important to me. What I do next. What are you hearing? What do you see in that?
That's where I see the filter.
That's the filter? Yep, absolutely.
That's where you have, that's reaction. And that's where a lot of people have a hard time, because we've trained ourselves to react in a certain way, and sometimes it's the survival mode. And survival mode is rarely helpful
Okay,
in a
yeah.
relationship.
Yeah, it's fight or flight, right? And neither one of those in marriage is good. Yeah, yeah, good point.
And your next step could be prayer.
Yes, okay.
It doesn't have to be an immediate response. The solution could come a couple days later through God orchestrating things.
Good.
It's not always you.
Yeah, I love it.
I think the question itself is loving. The question itself is loving. What will I do? Will what I do next be loving? Well, you're asking the question, you are already secretly showing love. I think one of the things about that is that you can think that question and then act after it and fail miserably. I mean, what you think might be loving, and you thought about it, and then you go and you act upon it, and then, oops, I just said the exact wrong thing right there. There's a reevaluation after that. There's another, the same question comes up after that. What will I do after that?
Yeah.
And I think there's a time when there needs to be a little bit of an understanding on the other side. I think he was trying to say something that was loving it. He just completely offended me.
We're good. Yeah.
That's not a time to let him out of it, you know?
Yeah.
But it's a time to communicate.
Yeah. And the end of the chapters, actually, chapter 7 really discusses that whole point, that, and we're going to capitalize that on in just a second as well. When you stop and you say, okay, how am I going to handle the next moment? When you're in that time, you're trying to analyze everything. You're analyzing, you're thinking about what you have took in from your spouse. You're trying to listen to it. What you're trying to do is take off my blue glasses, turn off my blue hearing aids, and say, okay, what is she trying to say to me? Do you remember earlier in the book, he kept on saying, I give my wife the benefit of the doubt. She may have come across disrespectful, but I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. There's got to be something else going on here. I need to figure it out. So when you stop, when you take a time and you think about what your next reaction, what your words are going to be, and your actions are going to be, you're trying to look at everything, and it gives you the opportunity to say, okay, what's her perspective? Am I stepping on her pink hose? What does that mean? Do you remember? Go back to chapter 2. What does stepping on her pink hose mean? Huh? I'm cutting her air off. I'm cutting off the love. Instead of depositing, I'm cutting it off. Is my actions not being loving at all? And when we can reassess those things and take the time, our reaction's a whole lot better.
Well, and I think too, as speaking for myself, if we're in this,
Yeah.
then I need to give you the grace to have time to think and process. Because a lot of times I want the response now.
Yes, you do.
And that doesn't give you time. That doesn't give you time to ask those questions and to move forward. So I need to have a little grace in that. But also, the husband might say, can I think about this for a second? So I know that you are thinking about it, you just haven't zoned out on me, which puts us back into the crazy cycle.
I zone out. And every fight I lose because I'm not quick on my feet. So that's a positive for her. But I come back like 3 hours later, I'm like, oh yeah! And then I'm like, the fight's already done and I already lost. So I like what you're saying, like communicate of, I'm going to step away, it's okay. I'm not stonewalling, and maybe it's that time where we have to take that next step. But it's really this thought process of getting, I'm going to go back to what you just said, and I'm going to talk about that failure. Do you remember at the end, he talked about this a lot. He talked about rebounding. Do you remember that? In basketball, he says shooting is important. What's the next most important thing in basketball as well? It's the rebound, right? It's the rebound. And why is that so important? Because here's the deal. You're going to take a shot, newsflash, it won't go in every time. You're going to brick it. You're going to airball it. People are going to boo you, right? Airball. And I've blown it many a time in our marriage, and I've thrown bad shots, right? Even though I'm trying to do what's right, I'm going to fail. But the most important thing is some of the best players in basketball are some of the best rebounders. Because when you have to rebound, what do you have to do? What do you do to rebound? Those of you who play a little bit. Charles, will you say something?
You have to block out.
You have to block out?
You have to keep everybody else
You have
away.
to anticipate where the ball's going to be.
Yeah. So when we talk about blocking out, how is that helping in our marriage? What are we blocking out? What do you think?
I think you're trying to block out all the negative stuff and focus on that one thing to go get and take care of.
I love it. And it's going back to what you said. You have to anticipate what? Explain that.
You have to anticipate where the ball's going to be, and you have to time your jump to get the rebound.
Yeah, so you're going to watch the shot. You're going to say, well, you know what? Have you ever shot and you know you missed? In our marriages? No. You know, an old coach told me one time, follow your shot. Why do you follow your shot? Because if you break it, you can probably get your rebound and still make the basket. So you're going to watch where that's going to go. And really good basketball players can say, hey, that's going to miss. I know it's going to go off the rim or the backboard like this. I'm going to get myself into position. I'm going to rebound. What he's trying to make and try to say to us is, this is extremely difficult, and you're going to fail. This will not probably work the very first time when you sit down with your spouse. Even if you have a good marriage, some of these discussions are going to unpack some of the things that may have not been there and you've left alone from underneath the surface. If difficult marriages, this is going to be very difficult and you're going to fail because you may be the one that makes the first move, but then you're like, I'm sick of it. 100% sick of it. I'm out. So you may have made that first move, but because there wasn't a response, you're going to back out. I'm just trying to tell you there's going to be rebounds. There's going to be things that you're going to do, even if you're trying to do the right things, you're going to mess up. The thing he keeps on saying is rebound. Go back and try it again. You're going to probably make less shots than you do make, right? I've always thought it was amazing when I watch basketball games, and like, there are 43% from out there, and like, that's a good number. And I'm like, 43? Should not be like 90? You're professionals. Well, even the professionals miss, right? Okay, we got to close off. I didn't realize this is where we're at, but that's okay. Anything you want to say before we quit today? Okay, so next week, Sally and I will be gone. We'll be, I'm going home to Canada to see my family. So Jay Thurman will be in here taking care of the class. You're starting part 2. So we are now leaving explaining love and respect, and we're going into part 2. And I think what he's going to be doing and what he's going to show us is how to get this done and put some tools in our hands. So I'm excited about part 2, okay? So it changes a little bit in the book. So come prepared for Jay when he comes here to teach you guys next week, and then we'll continue on throughout the summer. Great comments. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you guys sharing. I know it's not always easy to share, but you have done a great job. I'm putting you on the spot, Sean, but will you pray for our marriages this morning? And I think that'd be a great way for us to end.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you for your many blessings, and we thank you for life and for our mates. And Lord, we pray that you'll bless our spouses, that you'll bless them with our love, with our respect. Pray, Lord, that you will help us to follow your design and take your wisdom and take your might into our marriages. Remember that no matter what our situations in life, however we go about business and do our thing, that we remember that you created us, and you created us in a unique way, and we were attracted to one another because of our uniqueness, and we have something special to guard. Pray, Lord, that you'll help us to take some of these things that we have been learning and put them into practice, and help us to always remember how much we care for one another. Pray, Lord, that you'll bless our families. Help us to, most of all, glorify you in what we do. Pray, Lord, that you'll bring us our needs and help us to look to other people's needs in our lives. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. God bless. Great class, guys.